What's going on? It's Jack here, back with a recipe video. Today I'm going over some of my favorite side dishes, but the first recipe of the video is going to be some potato chips. So we have one russet potato right here. This came out to be 374 grams, but anywhere between 350 to 400 is a pretty decent sized potato. We also have a bowl of room temperature water. It's not chilled, it's not hot, just room temperature right there. You also need some nonstick and some salt. Also, we're going to cook this in the air fryer, so instead of frying them in a bunch of oil and adding a lot of calories, we're just going to use the air fryer, but still get nice and crispy. But first thing we need to do is go ahead and cut our potato. The thinner the slice, the more crispy it will be. So I'm gonna take my time and make really thin slices. But obviously if you're in a hurry, it doesn't be perfect, but I'm gonna try to get super thin slices for you guys to show you how crispy you can get these potatoes. Now we have our potatoes cut up. I think I did a decent job. I would say that is a pretty thin slice. I'll zoom in. But the biggest thing is a sharp knife will help a lot with this process. Also, just take your time. The slower you go, the more precise you can be. Now we'll go ahead and dunk all the potatoes in the room temperature water for about 10 to 15 minutes. So just make sure they're all submerged, set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes, then we'll throw those in the air fryer and cook them up. Now our potatoes have been soaking for about 15 minutes, so we'll go ahead and take those out. What I like to do is just dry off the excess liquid real quick on a paper towel. So we'll go ahead, move the potatoes out of the water onto a paper towel. Also, the water will be a little murky. That's just the starch that the water pulled out and what helps make it crispy, having a little less starch in the actual potatoes. So go ahead, lay those out, drain the excess liquid, and then we'll get them in the air fryer. If you've watched the channel before, you know I love to put tin foil down in the air fryer to make easy cleanup. I will say, when I'm making something like this, I'm willing to sacrifice the easy cleanup for a little bit extra crisp, because if you do put the tin foil down, as you notice, you can see there's like ridges in here, so there's actually cooking and some of that, like that hot air coming up from the bottom. That tin foil prevents that, so it won't get as crispy. So just be aware of that. If you use tin foil, it won't be as crispy, but we'll go ahead and just hit some nonstick down on the bottom, add potatoes in, a little bit more nonstick on top, as well as some of our sea salt. And as you guys can hopefully see, I'm gonna try to do my best. There's a slight overlay, just a little bit of overlapping, because I'll be honest, you could do this in like 3 batches, but I think that's kind of a waste of time. So let's go ahead, overlap, spread them out the best you can. Oh no. All right, I'm gonna have to rearrange those real quick. But spread them out the best you can. I knew that was gonna happen as soon as I tilted the air fryer. But I'm gonna go ahead and reorganize this. We'll throw this in the air fryer at 400 degrees for about 12 to 14 minutes, depending on how crispy you want them. For me, 13 minutes is about perfect. At the halfway mark, so around 6 to 7 minutes, go ahead and take them out, flip all the potatoes over, and let them finish up in the air fryer. Once again, 400 for 12 to 14 minutes. And just like that, 14 minutes later, we have our air fried potato chips. As you can see, they came out very well. I got some close-ups for you guys, but nice and crispy. We got that golden brown with this clutch. Also, I mean, you can hear it right here. Like, they are nice and crispy. They have a little bend to them. They're not gonna be perfect potato chips. Once again, they're not super thin, and they're also not fried in oil. So just take that for what it is, but they're still absolutely delicious. Nice little crunch. Little ASMR, I have no idea if you guys can heard that, but they are nice and crispy. I'll go ahead and read off the macros for you guys. So this entire potato was around 373 grams, as I said earlier. Depending on the size of your potato, it's gonna be a little bit different. But this entire plate of potato chips comes out to be 280 calories, 66 grams of carbs, 0 grams of fat, and then 8 grams of protein. But if you wanna do a half serving, because most bags of chips are around 140 to 150 calories, so this at a half serving would be 140 calories, 33 grams of carbs, still 0 grams of fat, and then 4 grams of protein. But in order to make this a full meal, go ahead, pick your favorite lean protein source, chicken, beef, eggs, whatever it is. Go ahead, slap that either on the side or on top, then maybe have a little bit of fruit and vegetables on the side as well. That's a full meal right there. But I'm gonna go ahead, dig into the rest of these, enjoy this, watching The Office. I'll see you guys in the next recipe. We're back, and now we're gonna make some sweet potato fries. There are a few steps that are very critical. The sweet potato is not nearly as crispy as the russet potato. So for the sweet potato, to get nice crispy fries, we're gonna do a couple of things. One, we have an ice bath over here. So this is water with ice cubes in it. It's nice and cold. We're gonna go ahead and throw the sweet potatoes in there once they're cut for about 30 minutes. That is somewhat optional, but I will say it helps a lot with keeping the sweet potatoes extra crispy. Then we're also gonna add some cornstarch. So you can use cornstarch, or you can use this arrowroot powder. right here, arrowroot powder. It's pretty much a substitution for cornstarch. So if you have an allergy to cornstarch, go ahead and use arrowroot powder. But they pretty much do about the same thing. They're both gonna add some crispiness to the fries. They both do contain calories. Let's see. So the cornstarch is 30 calories for 8 grams, and then the arrowroot powder is 35 calories for 9 grams. We're gonna be using 1 serving, so just pick your poison in that regard. Okay, not poison, that's a very bad word choice when cooking. But go ahead and pick your starch for this recipe. And then we're also gonna add a little bit of salt, pepper, and paprika. You could add onion powder, garlic powder, some other seasonings, but I like to keep it super simple. Salt, pepper, a little bit paprika. First thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and wash this sweet potato, cut up into fries, and get it in our ice bath. Now we've got our sweet potatoes cut and in their ice bath. We're gonna go ahead and set a timer for about 20 to 30 minutes. The longer you wait, the better. I am going to wait the full 30 minutes. You could also go ahead and peel the skin before you cut it. But I will say, once you kind of get into the good fries, this is what I'm gonna call a good fry. You have a little bit of skin, but mostly just potato. And some of the other fries, like the edges, the skin, these are not gonna be as good, but I still think they're turn out decent, but you could peel them so they're all skinless. But I don't think that's that big of a deal or that big of a step. But yeah, we'll go ahead and let those soak for about 30 minutes. With the magic of YouTube, that'll be about 3, 2, 1. And one walk with Maisie later, we are back. I went ahead and pulled these sweet potatoes out of the bowl 30 minutes later. You can use paper towels, or in this case, I'm just using a kitchen towel to dry off the sweet potatoes, just because we want to make sure that when we go ahead and put them in the air fryer, they're not soaking wet, and then that the ingredients that we add, our salt, pepper, and paprika, will actually stick in the cornstarch. So we went ahead and let these dry off a little bit. Now we're gonna go ahead and put them in a mixing bowl. All right, so next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of olive oil spray on these to help the cornstarch and salt, pepper, and paprika stick. So go ahead and spray these down just a touch. Once again, we're not trying to use a ton of oil because we're trying to keep this low calorie, but just enough to kind of coat everything so that our ingredients will stick. Just like that. Go ahead, toss them around a little bit. And as far as our cornstarch goes, I'm gonna use 1 tablespoon, which should be about 8 grams. So we're gonna use 1 tablespoon. Boom. Go ahead and sprinkle that in. Give it a good mix. Boom. So 1 tablespoon of cornstarch in there. Then we'll go ahead and add our paprika, salt, and pepper. Now we'll go ahead and grab our air fryer basket and lay out our fries. We're gonna hit the bottom of the air fryer with a little bit of nonstick. Then we'll go ahead and add our fries in. Do your best to try to spread these out and not overcrowd them. If you do wanna make more than 1 potato, you could probably fit, my guess is maybe 2 potatoes, 2 sweet potatoes in here at a time. I obviously am just making 1 since I'm just making 1 serving for myself. I would say depending on the size of your sweet potato, I would just go ahead, maybe fit like 1, 1.5 in there, trying to overcrowd it, but we'll go ahead, get those in there. Do 1 last little spray of olive oil. And these will go in the air fryer at 400 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes. For me, I typically like a more crispy fry, so I'm probably gonna go the full 12 minutes, but go ahead and just check them. Then also make sure to shake this basket maybe 2 times for the cooking process. So at the 4-minute mark and the 8-minute mark, you can shake it, or you can just shake it at the halfway point. But regardless, we're gonna go ahead and put these in the air fryer and we'll see them when they're cooked. And just like that, 12 minutes later, we have our sweet potato fries right here. I will say once again, unfortunately, sweet potatoes are not gonna get quite as crispy as your regular russet potatoes, but the ice bath and cornstarch will help them be a little bit more crispy than they would be otherwise. And I'm a huge fan of sweet potatoes. I used to make a sweet potato mash almost every single night. And I think this is a great way to kind of change it up. If you don't want to have a mashed sweet potato or cubed, you can have it in fry form. So damn good. Also, I'm gonna use a little bit of this, what is this? 50% less sugar ketchup. You could also use some GQ sauce, barbecue sauce. I mean, some people dip them in ranch. I know ranch is a thing with fries, but personally, I like just a little bit of ketchup. And these fries are so tasty and in general. I mean, no flop. Still have that nice crunch in there as well. Delicious. But also, I'll read out the macros for you guys real quick. This sweet potato was 250 grams, so depending on your sweet potato, obviously it's gonna change, but for 250 grams of sweet potato, plus our tablespoon of cornstarch and a little bit of olive oil, it comes out to be 285 calories. It's It's 54 grams of carbs, 4 grams of fat, and 6 grams of protein. This is a great kind of side dish. So we've had the potato chips, we've now had the sweet potato fries, and we're also gonna make some pretzels or some soft pretzels. That'll be the next recipe. But before we get there, I'm gonna dig into these, and we're gonna see if they're Maisie approved. So we've got our fry right here. We're gonna have Maisie sit, shake, good girl. Other one, shake. You're gonna catch. Yeah, good girl. Also, we've been working on her leave it command and her down, so we're gonna work on that because she's a great catcher, but now we need to be patient. So Maisie, down, wait, leave it. Get it. Yeah, good girl. Well, I'd say those are Maisie approved, but we're gonna go ahead and wrap this recipe up here, and I'll see you guys at the next one. For our third and final recipe of the video, we're gonna be making some soft pretzels. I've been playing around with the recipe quite a bit. As you can see, we already have a work surface. I made a few different versions, and this is the final product I came up with. So we need to go ahead, we need flour, coconut flour, baking powder, and plain Greek yogurt. We're using 45 grams of flour, 9 grams of coconut flour, 140 grams of our non-fat plain Greek yogurt. This is just from Kroger, but I'm sure any kind would work, as well as 3 grams of baking powder. So that's what's gonna go in this bowl. We also need some baking soda, but that's gonna be used after we have the dough. But for the dough, we're just gonna go ahead and put all of the ingredients into this bowl, mix it up, and then knead it. I also like to go ahead and combine the dry ingredients first before we add the Greek yogurt. We don't want all the Greek yogurt going right on top of the baking powder. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. We're using half a serving or 70 grams of Greek yogurt. Now we've got all of our ingredients in this bowl. Go ahead and mix it up. It is gonna take a little while. If you had a food processor, the food processor would be a great option as well. So we're gonna mix it up with a spoon for a while. Eventually we'll go ahead and use our hands, and we'll also put it on a floured surface just like this. Yes, I did wash this. This is clean, the countertop. If you don't have a clean countertop, use a, what are they called? A wooden baking thingamajig you put on your countertop. And be patient with it. It's gonna take a little bit of time, but then you will have your dough eventually formed. Now what we need to do, go ahead and put that down on our floured surface. Then we'll go ahead and knead it for about 5 to 7 minutes. Just make sure everything gets nice and folded in there evenly. If you need to pick up a little bit more flour, go ahead. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and knead this, and yeah, see you guys in like 5 minutes. Just like that, we're done kneading. Now we need to go ahead and roll it out into basically one long kind of like snake looking thing. So we'll go ahead and roll it out pretty much as wide as you can. I would say maybe around 2 feet would probably be a good distance. But go ahead and take your time. And I learned that like as you roll, kind of spread your fingers out to pull it apart a little bit. So we'll go ahead and continue to do that until we have about, yeah, like a 2-foot rope. Alrighty, I think that looks pretty good. Then we'll go ahead, I'm not the best at explaining this, but basically when it like bring the 2 loops together, twist them around, so like kind of tie a knot, and then go down. Okay, that was a really bad explanation. So you have your pretzel like this. You're gonna basically switch hands, twist it, and then go down. So you're here, fold one over, twist it again, so it's a double fold, and then come up. And that's how you're gonna get a pretzel that looks like that. We'll go ahead and get the little edges, pin those down, press those in. Continue to shape it a little bit. And boom, there you have it. That is our pretzel right there in dough form. Now we need to go ahead, head over to the stove, warm up some water, get some boiling water, add some baking soda into it, boil this, and then it goes in the air fryer. Now we have a large pan of water over a high heat. As you can tell, you don't need a very deep pan. You just need it deep enough to submerge the entire pretzel. We're gonna go ahead and add some baking soda. As you can see right there, we're gonna go ahead and add about 10 grams. I need my scale, but yeah, 10 grams goes in here. We're gonna bring this to a boil and then add our pretzel in for about 45 seconds. One trick that I found to work rather well is to go ahead and preheat your air fryer. Normally I don't worry about preheating. This is one of the recipes I found it beneficial so the pretzel wouldn't stick to the bottom. So the air fryer is currently preheating. It's gonna get up to 365 degrees. I set the time for 10 minutes even though we're only gonna put the pretzel in for 7 to 8. But that time is gonna allow us to let the air fryer get nice and warm, let us boil the pretzel, and then we can put the pretzel into the air fryer once it's nice and warmed up and preheated. Also make sure to hit with some nonstick before you put the pretzel into the air fryer. I'll show you guys the whole process. I'm gonna talk you through it because it's gonna be very, very fast when I actually do it. But our water's getting close. Once it boils, we wanna go ahead and turn the heat off, but we wanna make sure it's boiling first. Then we'll get our pretzel in for about 45 seconds, get our air fryer preheated, and I'll show you guys the whole process. Another tip, have a large spatula on hand that's about the size of your pretzel because you don't want to be using your hand to lay things in there. So we'll put our pretzel on here, lay it in, and also use this to take it out and put in the air fryer. Now our water is boiling, the air fryer is preheated. We're going to turn the stove off, let that water not be actual boiling when we go ahead and put the pretzel in. Now you can put the pretzel in as is, probably for about 20 to 30 seconds, or you can let the temperature come down and then cook it for 45 to 60 seconds. I'm gonna go ahead, since I'm in a little bit of a time crunch, go ahead and use the boiling water rather than the cooled down warm water. But we're gonna go ahead and do this rather fast. So we have our pretzel here. We're gonna go ahead and set that guy right on our spatula right there. I have a timer on my phone right here next to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the timer and dip our pretzel in there. Go ahead, make sure it stays covered. I'm gonna go for about 30 seconds right now. Also, our air fryer is now preheated, so we're gonna pull that out. Hit it with some nonstick real quick. Now it's gonna be warm. Go ahead, once again, we got our pretzel. We got about 10 seconds left. Maisie's right here. Hello. So our air fryer ready. We got our pretzel. And 3, 2, 1. Boom. So now we got that. Go ahead and gently pull it out of there. Get it in the air fryer, boom, and we'll go ahead and put that in the air fryer, and we're gonna use that about 8 minutes. Also, I recommend flipping it halfway, just make sure it cooks evenly. All right, and just like that, we have our pretzel right here. It is probably very hot. Let's see if I can kind of finagle this. Still probably very hot, but hopefully you guys can see that right there. Looks absolutely delicious. We're gonna go ahead and let this cool off and give you guys a taste test. The time has come for the taste test. I'm very confident in this because it looks delicious. I've tried this recipe a few times, as I mentioned before. So we're gonna do a quick little break. Honestly, I'm gonna hold it up for you guys once again. I think this is just a masterpiece right here. If only I had the pretzel salt. That would just top it off perfectly. I'm gonna break that open. Ooh, honestly still a little hot. That's how they come at the games, right? So when you're at the stadium, you want a pretzel. Yo, that was good. I know, it's so good. Wow, it's kind of sweet. Honestly, it has a little bit of sweetness to it. Good crunch outside, soft doughy inside. Wow. That is really good. Of course, as I'm eating this, I'm like, I should have made like a cheese dip, like a high protein cottage cheese blended up cheese dip or something, like a beer cheese. I highly recommend this. Yes, it is quite a bit of work, but you can also do this in batches. So as I mentioned, it was 70 grams of Greek yogurt, 45 grams of flour, 9 grams of coconut flour, 3 grams of baking powder. You can go ahead and just double those ingredients. If you wanna make 2 pretzels, you make 3 or make 4. Just take the numbers for 1 single pretzel and double it, triple it, quadruple it, 5 times it, 6 tuple it. I don't freaking know what that word is, but 6 times it, and you can make 6 pretzels at once. Obviously, you probably are limited in the air fryer, probably maybe fit 2 or 3 at a time. But outside of that, you can just kind of make even more dough. And the macros for this pretzel come out to be 252 calories, 43 grams of carbs, 2 grams of fat, and 13 grams of protein. So high protein pretzel options that taste absolutely delicious. If I can come up with a recipe for like a high protein anabolic beer cheese with some like cottage cheese, cheddar cheese, damn, that sounds really good. I'm gonna have to do that next. So once again, just gave myself another idea for a recipe. Well, these are delicious. We need to give Maisie a quick taste test. Alrighty, and we're gonna go for distance here. So we're gonna give her a longer catch. So we're here and we're back her up. Sit. Stay. Ready? Nice, let's go. What do you think? You a fan? Yeah. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and end the video here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. More recipes coming soon. Maisie, nice to see you next time. Peace.